All right. So moving on. Okay. Now I get a chance to pick. I was going to take Kalen DeBoer. Very candidly, I was going to take him. But now I'm going to go in a direction. This is probably my only time I'm going to go chalk here. All right. To be honest. And we're not going to have much to say about him because the resume speaks for itself this past year. For this pick, I'm going to go with Sonny Dykes, right? I mean, people are probably surprised he was still on the board at this point. Obviously, so Gary Patterson had a fantastic career at TCU. But by the end of
He
it,
really did. He really did. What he
really
did for that program when he got there, they were in the Mountain West. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They were they were not in the Big 12. They were not a powerful program at all. They were not a national contender until he got there. And he did fantastic until the end. They went 5-7, 6-4, 5-7 again, with recruiting rankings of like 31, 23, and 44. So not exactly what the program was looking for. And of course, they parted their mutual ways. And they bring in Sonny Dykes, who was the head coach at SMU beforehand for a few years. He brought some transfers with him, but they also already had some sneaky talent there, and they blew everyone's expectations out of the water. They made it to the national championship. Now we can talk about the score of that game, but let's start with they beat good teams this year. They had a lot of success against a pretty stacked Big 12 this year. If you're going to ask me in terms of like
top to bottom.
Top to bottom, the depth of it, right? I'm not going to talk about like the top talent in the Big 12 being like necessarily competing with some of those other conferences, but definitely a deep Big 12. They went 9-0 in the Big 12. They came in first in the regular season, lost that championship game to Kansas State. Fantastic game. If you didn't get a chance to watch that, I am so sorry. It was a fantastic game. Their over-under win total last year was 6.5. This year it's 7.5, right? People, they're just in the national championship. Well, they lost a lot of guys to the NFL. Like a lot of guys. Offensively, in terms of efficiency, they were 14th. Defensively, they were 25th. Their biggest loss, actually, realistically, was probably Garrett Riley. And the reason why I didn't really take him as high, and they went and hired Kendall Briles, who was a little controversial. When I say a little, I mean a lot. A lot. Had some instances. His dad was involved in some stuff at Baylor and he was assistant coach there for his dad. Look, he's a good coach in terms of he knows how to call plays. He did okay at Arkansas. I don't think TCU fans were super happy with that. I think they would have preferred a guy like Ryan Grubb, who we talked about previously. But I feel like I'm talking so negative about TCU right now. They had a fantastic season. They overshot everyone's expectations, and they still have some talent on that team, and they did pretty well in the transfer portal.
Well, the interesting thing there with that offense coordinator hire is the reason why they were disappointed is because, I mean, if you told them last year, oh, we got Kendall Briles, he's a SEC guy, he's very successful, he's a smart head coach, baggage and all, right? It's if you're TCU typical fan, they'd be like, okay, you know what, I can live with that. But after the season they had, the success, especially offensively, they had, you'd think they could have hit this higher out of the park. And I think that's where the frustration set in with the fan base.
Yeah. And I think their defense coordinator did a fantastic job last year. Joe Gillespie, who, fun fact, was an assistant coach for Art Briles back in the day on that 2014 Baylor team with like Sean Oakman, Jarrett Stidham when he was on that team. That's your water cooler fact of the day. Who did Jarrett Stidham play for before he went to Auburn? Played for Baylor. Fun fact. And indirectly responsible for Bama not making a national championship. What was that, like 2019?
Yeah, that was 2018. I think it was the year with Jalen Hurts.
Yep. So, anyways,
2017. That was a while ago.
I mean, they ranked 19th in the transfer portal class this past offseason, so they did well there. They got some nice guys. They got a lot of guys from Bama, right? They got JoJo Earl, absolute speedster. People were really high on him. Didn't necessarily produce, or he was, but he's pretty good. I'm assuming. Who else? I'm trying to think about the other Bama guys that they got.
It was
the offensive
Trey
lineman.
Sanders. Yeah, Trey Sanders, the running back, was a former 5-star from IMG.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Battled injuries. A great person. I mean, he had that car accident. Like, people thought he wouldn't play football again. He's a very talented guy. Is one more year removed from that injury. He might be pretty good this year. Hopefully contribute for them. And then Tommy Brockmeyer from Texas was a highly rated recruit. I think was top 6 nationally. as a tackle for them.
Yep. They
That
also got
class.
Chance Nolan in the transfer portal. If you follow Pac-12 football, his quarterback at Oregon State last year. Now Chandler Morris is still there. Probably going to start. He started over Max Duggan going into the season last year, so they're probably still pretty high on him. If I had to guess, I know that's Sonny Dykes' guy. But Chance Nolan would not be going there if he didn't know he had a chance to compete for a quarterback spot. So that'll be something interesting to watch in this offseason. But yeah, so that's our spiel on TCU. Pretty good team. And I took Sonny Dykes. Sorry I didn't take him higher. I mean, I don't know what to say. So,
Well,
anyways, well,
to add something to that real quick, the reason why I didn't take him either, until I might not even taken him next. I think I like this guy next more than him, but um, I just think TCU is one of those programs right now that just builds up to their peak, right? And they peaked this past season. Interesting enough, in year one, which was highly impressive. But you look at teams like Cincinnati, Utah. Kind of back in the day, Utah's different now. They can be good, every year. But teams that just build up, they stack recruiting classes together, and then they peak in every 3-4 years. And I just think they're going to take a big drop down in year two, which you're not saying about everyone else, the other people that have been taken higher than him on this list.
I agree. I 100% agree. It's more about like future outlook, right? I mean, that's kind of why. That's why I like Mike Elko. That's why I like Dan Lanning over those guys. Even though Sonny Dykes made the national championship, got to think about the future when you're thinking about these head coaches, because it's honestly in no other sport does the coach is the coach more important.
Well, especially nowadays with transfer portal recruiting. I mean,
Yep.
The hardest job hardest job in sports right now is head coach of college football, especially of Power 5 program.
Yep.
With high expectations, like.
Yep. Absolutely.